On the night of August 24, 2001, Air Transat Airlines Flight 236 was flying from Toronto to Lisbon. At an altitude of 39,000 feet, when the plane was flying in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, both of its engines suddenly stopped because the fuel of the plane had run out and the plane was falling down. Hello friends, you are watching Fact Galaxy, where we bring you real and heart-touching stories. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. Viewers, there was only water all around, and the nearest airport was 120 kilometers away, where it was impossible to reach. That is, there was only one outcome of this accident, and that is death. On the evening of August 23, 2001, Air Transat Airlines Flight 236 was preparing to go to Lisbon, Portugal from Toronto Airport. Now, because this was going to be a 7-hour non-stop flight, after checking the regular service and maintenance, 48 metric tons of fuel was added to it. This was an Airbus A330 aircraft, which was considered the most advanced and safe aircraft of that time. 8-year-old Captain Robert Fish had an experience of 16,800 flight hours, while First Officer Dirk Deeger had also flown 4,800 hours of aircraft, and both had flown the Airbus A330 aircraft many times before. In a short while, 293 passengers and 13 crew members boarded the flight, and at about 9 o'clock at night, the aircraft successfully took off from the airport in Toronto. Now, the pilots slowly turned towards the Atlantic Ocean to take the aircraft to Lisbon. In a few minutes, the aircraft reaches its cruising altitude of 39,000 feet. Now, pilots do not do much work on such long flights because most of the work is done by the autopilot system. Pilots only monitor the situation and keep updating the control tower from their location from time to time. It had been 4 hours since this aircraft took off. Everything was going normally so far, and most of the passengers in the aircraft had fallen asleep. In a few minutes, the aircraft had reached the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Then Captain Robert Fish's eyes turned towards the control panel of the aircraft's engine number 2, where some abnormal readings were coming, meaning the warning bell had rung. And with this, the tough test of the flight pilots began. At about 1 o'clock at night, the pilots saw that the oil pressure had increased a lot in the engine on the right side. In addition, the quantity of oil was low, and the oil temperature was also low. Both pilots were seeing such errors for the first time in their careers, because when an engine is operational for a long time, from a scooter to an aircraft, its temperature gradually increases. But here the temperature was dropping rapidly, which was not normal at all. So both the pilots immediately look at the flight manual, but they do not find anything in it. Never delaying, the pilots directly call the Air Transit Maintenance Control Center in Canada and tell them about this problem. But in response, they are only told to keep monitoring the error, and as soon as we know something about it, we will contact you. Now, although there was a faulty reading in the cockpit, there was no problem in flying. So the pilots thought and relaxed that maybe some fault sensor is giving the wrong reading of oil. But what was going to happen to them later was still written in black letters in the history of air accidents. Anyway, about half an hour passed, then another advisory message was displayed on the cockpit screen in front of the captain. But this message was not related to oil, but related to fuel. In fact, the fuel of commercial airlines is equally distributed in their wings. But the warning was displayed on the screen that fuel is less in the right wing as compared to the left wing. But this problem did not seem too big to the pilots, because many times, even if a few liters of fuel is less, such warnings come. Then the crossfield valve is opened, and the fuel is equally distributed in both the wings. So this time too, the pilot did something that equalized the amount of fuel in both the wings. But after 10 minutes, the captain sees a low fuel warning in the display. Only then he finds out that fuel has decreased again in the right wing, and now, even if both the wings are combined, there is not enough fuel to reach Lisbon. At this time, only 7 tons of fuel was left in the plane, which was only 6% of the total capacity of the plane. And this was also decreasing rapidly. In this way, the pilot had no choice but to divert the plane. Then he took the decision to land at Legis Airport, which is located in his nearest Toser Island, and immediately contacted the traffic control there and told the whole thing. But both the pilots were being asked this question, that why is the fuel decreasing? And will we be able to reach Legis Airport or not? Then the captain immediately told the flight attendant to check the right wing from the window. Is there no fuel leakage from there? but in the thick darkness of the night, the flight attendant did not see anything. Now, the condition was such that 1 ton of fuel was running out every 5 minutes. Now they had only 25 minutes of fuel left, which was not even possible to reach Tozera Island. Then the maintenance team told the captain to take the plane to a height of 20,000 feet so that the fuel leakage is confirmed. But the captain clearly refused to do this because he believed that even if the fuel leakage is confirmed, we will not be able to catch the height of 49,000 feet again. And at least by gliding from 49,000 feet, we can come a few kilometers ahead. Then suddenly, the right engine of the plane caught fire, which confirmed that the leak was happening. The passengers sitting inside the explosion had a lot of fun, which started shaking the plane. Then the captain requested the passengers to sit quietly. The plane now had 4.5 tons of fuel, and only 1 engine was left, which was not possible to cruise such a big plane. In this way, the attitude of the plane began to decrease gradually. Now only 600 kilograms of fuel was left in the plane, which was now 240 kilometers away from its destination. Then what the captain was afraid of happened. The left engine of the plane also caught fire due to running at full thrust. And now the flight started gliding on the Atlantic Ocean without any engine. In addition, the power system of the plane also collapsed, causing darkness in the entire cabin. However, the important equipment of the cockpit was also running on emergency support. Now, the largest airport was 120 kilometers away. The plane had come down to 30,000 feet. Now, if the plane could not reach the airport while gliding, it would have to land in the water. So the crew members immediately started preparing the passengers. But landing in the water is quite dangerous because it has to face a lot of impact by the passengers. And even if they survive the impact, they can also drown in the water. Now, it is quite difficult to glide a heavy commercial plane. Everything was dependent on the control of the plane, which the pilot was controlling manually with the lever. The height of the plane was decreasing by 200 feet per minute. That is, the next 15 minutes, the story of the lives or deaths of 306 people on the flight was going to be written. After a few minutes, the distance between the plane and the airport had reached 15 kilometers. At this distance, the altitude of the flight is advised to be kept at 3,000 feet, while the altitude of this plane was 13,000 feet. But if the captain had lowered the flight forward and reduced the altitude quickly, there was a 90% chance of crash landing. In this case, the pilot made a 360-degree turn there, which was the same distance between the plane and the airport. But the altitude had reduced from 8,000 feet to 5,000 feet, which was still more than 2,000 feet above the recommended level. But now it was not possible to set 360 degrees. Therefore, the pilot turned the plane towards the runway of the airport and then made some S-turns. In this zigzag pattern, the plane got some extra time to reduce the altitude. Now, normally, to keep the nose of the plane up during landing, flaps and engine thrust are used, but the pilot could not even open the flaps without engine thrust. Because by doing this, the air drag obtained from the flaps would have lowered the plane further and the crash landing would have happened. Therefore, the pilot decided to land with the flaps closed. Due to this, there was a very fast collision between the plane and the runway, and in 12 minutes, 8 tires burst, due to which the plane was skidding to one side. But the captain applied the brake very intelligently and slowly, and finally the plane stopped. But then the plane's landing gear caught fire with a big blast. However, the emergency crew present near the runway immediately put out the fire. In this way, the brave pilots of Air Transat Flight 236 saved the lives of 306 passengers. And to date, this is the only plane in history that has made a record of reaching its destination by gliding for so long without any engine. But now the question was, where did the problem occur? When this was investigated, it was found that during maintenance before takeoff in Toronto, engineers had changed a part of the plane's engine, which was not perfectly fit. Due to this, there was a vibration in the operational condition of the engine, which burst the fuel line nearby. However, the pilots were also told that they did not pay much attention to fuel leakage and left the crossfit valve open for a long time, due to which the fuel of engine 1 also began to leak in engine 2 and the fuel ran out. So friends, do tell us in the comments. If you like our efforts in the video, then like and share the video and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the notifications of the upcoming videos. See you in the next video. Till then, bye-bye.